Hello children, once again I am here with you, the last segment of the chapter called climate. In the previous two videos we have tried to understand all the different aspects of weather, climate, atmospheric conditions and the elements and the factors that regulate the climatic conditions of any places in the world, as well as we discussed the climatic conditions, how they are regulated by these different factors compared to the our country, that is India. In this segment of the video, this is the last one where I am going to tell you the one of the very important features that constitute our Indian climate. Do you know the Indian climate is called as what? The monsoon type of climate. As you see that why it is called as a monsoon type of climate, the Indian climate is influenced with the monsoon wind, and as I told you, the monsoon wind are just reversal in their nature, and with the shifting of the heat and the pressure belt and so many other geographical factors, they are just started to move in the reversal nature, and that influence the climatic conditions over India and subcontinent. So to understand the Indian monsoon climate, it is very important to understand the mechanism of monsoon. So what are these mechanism of monsoon? What make that changes in the climatic condition or the movement of the pattern of the wind? That is very important to understand. So let us try to understand this segment also. The mechanism of monsoon deal with the differential heating and cooling of the land and water. As I told you, on this different aspect, the land masses and the water bodies, they receive a amount of solar energy is quite not similar. It receives the amount of solar energy in the different part of the world or the areas, and that regulated the movement of the wind. As you see, often the wind move from one region to another region. I mean, it moves from sea to land, and sometimes it's moved from sea to land to sea. What is the reason for this? Because of what? The heating of the these different bodies, that is land masses and the water bodies. So that differential heating and cooling of the land and water is one of the important mechanism of monsoon, because this is responsible for the reversal pattern of the wind movement. Getting me? Let us take the example. You see, sometimes the wind move from land to sea, right? Land to sea. And sometimes it's moved from sea to land. Okay? No doubt the pressure played a very important role for the movement of this wind. But do you know how these pressure belt are formed? These pressure belt are formed as because of the amount of solar energy it receives, and that is not similar. So in that way, this nature of heating and cooling differently on the different land masses on the water bodies cause for the reversal pattern of the wind movement, which is one of the important factor which regulate the Indian climatic conditions as well as the subcontinent. This is first point. That is called as what? The mechanism of monsoon. Let us move to the another, that is the shifting of the position of ITCZ. Now let us try to understand what is this ITCZ. When we talk about the ITCZ, it means Intertropical Convergent Zone. Intertropical Convergent Zone. These are basically heat zones. As you might have studied in your lower classes, that whole globe is classified into different zones, which are known as what? Torrid zone, temperate zone and frigid zone. So if you see, on all these different zones, the amount of heat which it receives are not similar. Let us take the example. Just let me have a rough sketch over here. This is just a rough sketch, right? Now take this as what? Your globe, and take this as the equator. This is topic of Cancer. This is topic of Capricorn. Do you know this region, which is also called as the equatorial region, this is called as what? Torrid zone, right? And here it is like that. This is called as what? The temperate zone. This is called as what? The frigid zone. So the amount of solar energy which is received on this different part of the globe is not same. This part of the globe, which is called as what? Equatorial regions, receive more amount of heat. That's why it is called as what? The hottest part of the earth. If you move to the temperate zone here, okay, this is neither too hot nor too cold. And if you move here, which is called as a frigid zone, this is always remain cold. The temperatures not goes much higher in compared to the rest part of the globe. So you see, so ITC plays a very important role. See, in these heat zones also, suppose this is an equator, okay, and these regions, which is called as the equatorial region and hottest part of the globe. So equator all the time do not remain same amount of heat, okay. It means because of the rotation and the revolution of the earth, these regions or equator, it makes such an inclination with the earth. Often, instead of experiencing more hot in this region, sometimes it receives amount of heat more here, or sometimes it receives amount of heat more here. It means why this happened? Because of the rotation and the revolution. Rotation revolution forms such an angle with the sun to this part of the country, because of which this part, which is counted as the most hottest part, often shift either to the some degree of the north, either some degree below the south. So this is called what? The shifting of ITC, intertropical convergence zone. Now, if the heat zones are keep on shifting, so don't you think the climatic conditions of these regions also get changed? Yes. So this is another important mechanism which regulate the Indian climate. That is what? The shifting of the position of intertropical convergent zone. Clear? This is another. Now third you come to, that is what? The presence of high pressure areas and the east of Madagascar. The pressure belt often found in the different part of the country. Now you see, when this high pressure belt forms in near the Madagascar, then what happened? The wind started to blow from the Madagascar Sea towards the peninsular India. And when this wind blows, as we know that when wind blows, it carries some amount of moisture along with it, and it cool down those places which experiences the hot type of climate or hot weather system. So in this way, this shifting of the pressure belt or the formation of the high pressure belt in different places with the change of the season also influence the climatic conditions. The most important is what here? The movement of the wind from the Madagascar towards the Indian peninsula, as high pressure belt formed here, and ultimately what happened? As we know, we have already discussed, wind moved from high pressure belt to low pressure belt, and the Madagascar, when it's experienced the high pressure zone, ultimately what happened? The cold wind that started to blow from the west part of the peninsular land of India, and where that Madagascar is located, and from there when it blows just covering the Arabian and the Indian Ocean, and when it reaches the peninsular region of our country, it influences the climatic conditions of that particular place. This is one of the very important mode of how the monsoon is regulated. Now see, the the Tibetan plateau gets intensely heated. If you try to understand and if you see, when the high pressure belt formed in the Tibetan plateau, as it's received more amount of heat, and ultimately what happened, now wind started to blow from these regions, and when it's blow and from Tibetan region to just over the Indian land masses and reach to the Indian Ocean and the Bay of Bengal, then what you find, you find that we have a different type of climatic conditions here. So in that way, this is the differential heating and the cooling of the land and water bodies, the shifting of the position of ITCZ, the presence of high pressure area east of Madagascar, the Tibetan plateau, when it's get intensely heat, it's also regulated the Indian climate. Why? Now you will find the reversal nature of the wind. The wind which were blowing from the sea to land masses, then ultimately what happened, when the Tibetan plateau get heat and high pressure belt started to form, there is a reversal of the movement of the wind, and ultimately that affect the climatic conditions. And finally, the movement of the jet streams. These jet streams, they are both easterly jet stream, okay, easterly and western jet stream, right? Western jet stream. Now see, when these western jet streams blow, what happened? It blows over the western, northwestern part of the country, and ultimately what happened? The northwestern part of the country as well as the foothills of the Himalayan states, the climatic conditions get regulated there. You might have experienced the like Lu started to blow in the central, foothills of Himalayan states as well as the western part of the state. Now, when this Lu blows, which are basically influenced by the jet streams, no? What are jet streams? We have already discussed. Wind which blows with the speed of 110 km and 180 km, 84 km in the two different seasons. They are called as jet streams. So, when it blows in the western side, it's regulate the climatic conditions very different manner in the northwest part as well as the foothills of the Himalayan state. Basically, these are Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, no, and Uttarakhand. These regions comes in here. And another is what the jet streams which blows from the eastern side. Basically, they originated from the Pacific. Now, when from Pacific region they started to blow and they just cross over the Indian peninsular land, and the speed is a very with a very high speed, with a speed of 184 km per hour they travels, and in that way the peninsular part of our country, their climatic conditions got influenced. So this is what, these are the different mechanism of monsoon. It means how monsoon in our countries are regulated because of these different factors. Okay. Beside that, some more factors are there, that is called as what, southern oscillation, or which is also called as a SO, about which we are going to discuss. Okay, then let us try to understand the another very important features that regulate the Indian climatic conditions. In the previous, I have told you the mechanism of what called this Indian monsoon. What are the mechanisms that regulate the Indian monsoon? So along with that, we cannot ignore the southern oscillation, okay, or which is also called as the SO. Now, what is the southern oscillation? You see, you can, or this globe or the earth can experience the periodic change in the pressure conditions. Okay, the periodic change in the pressure condition is called as what? Southern oscillation or SO. Now see, this periodic change has a different impact over the different part of the country. You see the differences in the pressure over the Pacific region at this degree, and the northern Australia, which where this Darwin regions are located. And if you see the Indian Ocean at this degree, now see whole this different part is computed to predict the intensity of monsoon. Correct? It means they are the periodic changes, or because of the pressure conditions, no impact on this different part of the world, you find very different. Correct? So with these differences, no, because of these southern oscillations, we cannot ignore or isolate one of the very important feature, that is called El Nino. Now El Nino effect also played one of the most important factor. Generally this El Nino effect means what? This El Nino effect is that warm currents which blow from the Peruvian coast, means near the from the Peru, no, or the Peruvian coast, sudden change happened, and this change happens once in a 2 year or 5th year. And ultimately what happened, a warm currents started to blow from there. These warm currents once blow from there to the crossing the Arabian and the Indian Ocean, it's affect the trade and the local winds of that particular place, and ultimately bring a huge change in the climatic conditions. So this feature of SO, which is connected with the El Nino effect, is also called as what? ENSO. What it is called as? ENSO. So this is how the mechanism of monsoon is one of the very important aspect which regulate the Indian monsoon climate. So based on all this, the India's seasons are classified into 4. They are hot weather season, cold weather season, the advanced monsoon or retreating monsoon, which is also called as a rainy season or autumn season. But some notable thing related to hot weather season, basically March to May is classed as what a hot weather season in India. But again, if you see, in many part of the country you may not find the temperature that much of high or that much of hot type of climate. Then some question may comes, why it is like that when book is talking about that, or the March to May is a hot weather season, but basically we experience more hot in June and July, August. Yes or no? It has some of the geographical reason. It is because of some of the geographical reason. If you see, recently because of this global warming, the temperature of entered this earth has increases up to 4 degree. Correct? It has impacted another. Monsoon, no, arrival of monsoon not reach to all the places at the same time. Basically monsoon begins from the April, yes or no, and it almost reach in every part of the country, in our country, either in the June or July, or the last part of the June or very first part of the July. But due to so many changes that is being taking place because of so many human activities, the climatic conditions are getting affected. So these are some of the important note you need to understand while you are dealing with the hot weather season, because these questions or this doubt often comes when we talk about the March and May is a hot weather season, but basically we experience more hot in June and July and the August. Why it is so? The reason is, it is all because of the human activity. It is all because of the global warming, which is, and our activities are the root cause of this global warming, and there is a huge change in the climatic conditions or the climatic pattern. So about the cold weather season and all this, I hope that after understanding this particular segment, it will be quite easy for you to understand. So I'm going to wind up this chapter with this last video. I hope that it will surely help you to understand the content. You take care of yourself very well and keep on learning. Thank you very much.